this team that you see right here, the Brownsville Baseball Club, was formed in 1903 by a man that I call the father of amateur baseball in Brownsville, John D. Hill. John D. Hill came to Brownsville in the rice business. Now, his son was pitching for the University of Kentucky at the time. They go to the Fort Brown and watch a baseball game between the troops. So they got together and said, hey, how come Brownsville doesn't have a city team? No city team. This is them. 1903, this is the Brownsville City team of 1903. By 1908, they declared themselves as South Texas champions. This is a beautiful photograph and some good-looking ball players. At the same time of 1908, John Northworth is taking the express, the subway in New York, looks out the window, and he sees baseball at the Polo Grounds. He takes out a scratch sheet of paper and starts writing, "Take me out to the ball game" in 1908. Same time they were champions here in South Texas. All right? And that's interesting because "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" during that period of time was second in popularity next to what other song? Come on. Huh? Star Spangled Banner. The #1 song during that era was the Star Spangled Banner. The next one, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." This man, Jack Northwood, had never been to a ball game. Didn't go to a ball game until 15 or 20 years later. And he writes a 3-stanza song about baseball. 1908. 1910, we have our first professional baseball team. The Brownsville Brownies. The Brownsville Brownies, the name, Brownies. You know, it's unusual, right? In 1909, the owners of the teams, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Beeville, Bay City, Laredo, and Brownsville, they meet at the Anthony Hotel in San Antonio to discuss the rules of the game. Not more than 14 ball players, not more than 2,600 budget, and we don't want any chocolate-skinned ball players in the league. What do they mean by that? Huh? Colored or Latinos. All right? The argument soon ended when one of the owners said, let's use the word or the term, no foreigners in the league. All right? So they used, let's have no foreigners in this league. Oh, but wait a minute. Beeville had Marvin Gallia, Czechoslovakian. He was foreigner. He was the best ball player in the league. He winded up playing 9 years in the major leagues. Oh, the owner says, okay, wait a minute. The argument soon ended. And it said, the league owners will decide who plays and who doesn't play. The argument ended right away. We have all kinds of players in the league. How did we field a team in 1910? How did we get to Bay City? How did we get to Bay City? By train. The train, the St. Louis Brownsville Mexican Railway was in town in 1904. This is the only way we could have gone and fielded a team in 1910 because of the railroad. All right? Now, the railroad is what killed the team also. It got too expensive. Even the Texas legislature got into the act of lowering the price of the rate of the train ride. They passed a law that says, we're going to lower the price for a group of 14. They didn't say for ball players, they said for a group of 14. Because that was the limit of the ball players. That didn't help. By the end of the season, this guy's right here won the title in 1910. Southwest Texas League's title. Unbelievable. If you look at the Victoria team, this is our rival. And if you look at the Laredo team, these, ladies and gentlemen, are ball players. If you look at them, they're men playing a boys' game. They were your average Joe. They played very hard when they were on the diamond. But off the diamond, they also worked very hard. These were men right here. You see the pictures. Look at it very closely. We won the second season. Victoria won the first season. We collided in Victoria, and Brownsville said, hey, how come we're going to Victoria? Well, let's go to Corpus. Corpus had a bigger stadium, so we took the title. One little interesting story. I'm taking longer than I want to because I have a lot of details here. I'm sorry. You can leave it anytime you want to, okay? But they gave us a flag, the championship flag. 1911, we're going to fly this flag in Brownsville, right? In the ballpark. The Brownsville Herald wrote for the time. They never told us where the ballpark was located. Because everybody knew that. There were only 3,000 people in 1910. And everybody closed their shops to go to the ballgame. That was common. The first day, opening day, they had the band going, Elizabeth Street with the ball clubs behind them. Just imagine that. Just imagine that. In the Dirt Street event. If it was Dirt Street. 1910, we get the championship flag. This is where we have the French connection. Where do we get the pole, the flagpole? Well, the Bullock Building had a pole, a flagpole, that belonged to the French consul who were there before the 1900s. That French flagpole was donated by Mrs. Bullock to the ball club, and that's our French connection, that pole. And it flew over the park in 1911. Moving forward, we leave 1910 and we go to 1908, I mentioned 1910, 1920s. 1920s interesting period because in 1920 we don't have professional baseball. But what we have is a situation where there's a lot of amateur baseball. 1920s, early 1920s, San Benito Saints had a hell of a ball club. They came to Brownsville and they beat us every Sunday. They had recruited a major league pitcher at the time. So the people from Brownsville, this is a true story written by Mr. Rustenberg. Rusty Rustenberg, his photograph's over there, and I obtained a letter that he wrote to his kids, and this is where he says, hey, the citizens of Brownsville are upset. They went to the mayor, Tony's not here, and the city commission, and they told him, hey, what are y'all going to do about this situation? We're getting beat every Sunday. True story. So the mayor talks to Rustenberg, and he tells Rustenberg, hey, Rusty, you're the man. The man for what? The man to recruit a better ball club in the city. All of a sudden, back then there was a lot of bars at Elizabeth Street. He was one of those bars playing domino and cards and maybe drinking a few beers. A guy walks through the door, 18-year-old, big kid. He says, I'm looking for the new coach in town. And Fred says, oh, I'm he. What do you need, son? He says, I want to play baseball. He says, what can you do? He says, I hit home runs. All right, so I'll see you at the ballpark next Sunday. So he goes up there, first game. First time at bat. He had to blow over the cars on center field. Tie ball game at the end. Comes to the plate again with 2 strikes already. The pitcher decides to throw the blooper. And the goal just the bloops, right? He steps forward 3 steps, hits it out over the center field wall again, or the cars. Crowd goes wild. This is in Brownsville, a true story written by Rustenberg. They pass the basket around, 2 baskets full of money. At the end of the ball game, Rustenberg asked this ball player, what do you want for a salary, son? He says, 2 baskets full of money. At the end of the season, he leaves, nowhere to be found. There's no contracts or anything like that. 3 years later, ladies and gentlemen, he's in the starting lineup of the Chicago White Sox. Okay, this was a story that he wrote in a letter that he left to his kids. Art Shears was his name. Art the Great Shears. He was a rebel rouser. He caused a riot in Edinburgh while he was here. He did the same thing in the major leagues. He winded up becoming a professional boxer after that. 1920s also, we saw